Introducing Azure networking. More specifically, we'll be introducing what Azure networking is, followed by a discussion on virtual private network gateways. Then we'll introduce what Azure ExpressRoute is before we finally wrap up with Azure DNS. So let's get started with our one and only learning objective for this session on Azure networking. An Azure Virtual Network, or VNet for short, is a fundamental service that allows Azure resources to communicate with each other, to the internet and/or on-premises networks. It provides the building blocks for your private network within Azure, similar to a traditional network you would operate in your own data center, but with the added benefit of Azure's infrastructure, such as scalability, availability, and isolation. VNets enable you to create a logically isolated network in Azure. You can define your own IP address space, create subnets, and configure route tables and network gateways. This allows you to control the network topology and manage traffic flow within your Azure environment. Public endpoints on a VNet are accessible from anywhere on the internet, allowing external users to access your resources. Private endpoints, on the other hand, are accessible only from within your network, providing an additional layer of security. Subnets allow you to segment your VNet into smaller, more manageable sections. Each subnet can be assigned its own IP address range, and you can deploy Azure resources within specified subnets. This segmentation helps improve IP address allocation efficiency and enhances security by isolating different parts of your network. Network peering is a way that we can connect two VNets together to communicate, allowing resources in different VNets to communicate with each other. This is useful to create a global network architecture where VNets in different regions can be connected very seamlessly. Azure Virtual Networks also support hybrid networking scenarios, allowing you to connect your on-premises network to your Azure VNet using a virtual private network, or VPN for short. Or we can use Azure ExpressRoute. We'll introduce both of those services shortly. Both of these options can create a secure and reliable connection between your on-premises and cloud environments, enabling you to extend your data center to the cloud. Let's take a closer look at networking in Azure with a demo. All right, so in this demo, we're going to look at controlling the network access to these resources, in this case, a virtual machine. So I'm going to open up the Cloud Shell. We're going to do this in Bash as well. See if we can get everything working and connected all with the command line, right, using the Azure CLI. Okay, so I'm cheating again. I'm copying and pasting some commands in here. This very first one, just going to make a quick edit here. We want to set this to the resource group name that we're using for these demos. So this is Azure Demo. And what this command is simply doing is it's going over to our virtual machine that we created earlier, and we're going to list the IP addresses. We're going to grab one of those and simply store it in the variable IP address, right? So let's go and run that. And just to see what the IP address is, let's just echo this back out on the screen, make sure we got the address okay. And sure enough, that's the public address for our virtual machine. And again, we have these configured for public addresses right now to make things simple. All right, so what we want to do is I just want to show you that currently this machine is not accepting any incoming requests. So we're going to use curl to try and connect to this IP address with HTTP. And we're going to set a connect timeout for 5 seconds. So it's not going to wait forever trying to connect. And the point is this should fail, right? This should fail. Currently, and this is what the default is, port 80 is blocked. It does not accept it. And so you see the fail come back. Okay, that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. And so, port 80, not currently accepting anything. So what we're going to do is we are going to go and enable the access to that virtual machine over port 80. So we're going to open up that network port. So next up, what we're going to do is we are going to start playing with NSGs, right? These are the network security groups. So let me just edit this and make sure we're targeting the right resource group where these are. So I want to look at the resource demo group, and we see that we have a network security group for my VM, all right, NSG. So this is controlling the ports that are open or allowed to communicate in and out of that virtual machine. So once we see the NSG, what we're going to do is first we're going to look at the rules, and then we're going to change one. So we want to make sure that we target the right NSG. So we're going to look at the rules. I'm just changing the resource group again for the resource group that we're using for this demo, Azure demo. And what we should get is the rule list. So let's see this go. And we'll see that the current rules do not allow, or hopefully they don't allow, port 80. So if I scroll up here, this is the only rule that's in there, is to allow port 22. And it is inbound, right? So any incoming traffic on port 22 is allowed. Basically, the name here is SSH because port 22 is that. So with that, what we want to do is add to this list. And so the next command, let me go grab it. This is where we're going to create a new rule. So a little bit editing here as well. Make sure I just got to change this NSG name because I used a slightly different name. And also the resource group name again. That's what happens when you do a lot of these demos. You have some template code. This command is creating a rule on that NSG. So we're going to add one. And more specifically, we're targeting the NSG and everything. But we're going to call it allow HTTP. And we are going to allow port 80 here. So as a destination port 80, and we're going to set it in the allow list, right? So we're going to give it a thumbs up. All right. So once we do that, this doesn't take too long. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to rerun the command to show the list of rules, just to show you that it was in fact added. And so if I look at the same list of rules that only had port 22 earlier, so that's the one that's further up there, we now see another one that allows port 80, right? So port 80 right there. And it is inbound. It has name, allow HTTP, all the settings that we did on. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test the connection to it. So I'm going to do that same curl command that failed earlier. I'm going to try and communicate over port 80, and this time, bingo, right? We have a positive communication here. So we got results back. That server is actually responding over port 80. So we've effectively opened up that port to that address. And yeah, so now just to highlight, it's not just these commands like curl, it's port 80 that's open. So I'm going to take this IP address and let's go, copy that real quick. Let's put it into another tab. And because it's port 80, it's just a website. We're gonna just go to that go to that site real fast, and you'll see, welcome to Nginx. That's actually the virtual machine that's running in the virtual machine that we just opened up that port. So this works, easy as that. All right, let's get back to our presentation and continue on with some more content. An Azure Virtual Private Network Gateway, or VPN gateway for short, is a service that enables you to send encrypted traffic between an Azure virtual network and an on-premises location over the public internet. This ensures that your data remains secure as it travels between your on-premises infrastructure and the cloud. VPN gateways also support sending encrypted traffic between two Azure virtual networks, providing a secure and reliable connection for your resources across different regions. By using VPN gateways, you can create multiple connections to the same gateway, allowing for flexible and scalable network configurations. A common use case for Azure VPN gateways is to establish a secure connection between an organization's on-premises data center and an Azure virtual network. For example, a company might have sensitive data stored in an on-premises database that needs to be accessed by applications running in Azure. By setting up a site-to-site VPN connection, the company can ensure that data is transmitted securely over the public internet, protecting it from any potential threats. Azure ExpressRoute is another way that we can connect an on-premises network to an Azure virtual network. ExpressRoute is done over a private network connection facilitated by a connectivity provider and ensures that your data travels securely and reliably between your on-premises infrastructure and Azure without going over the public internet. By using ExpressRoute, you can achieve higher security, much faster speeds, and more consistent latency times compared to typical internet connections. This makes it an ideal solution for scenarios that require reliable and high-performance connectivity, such as data migration, disaster recovery, and hybrid cloud deployments. ExpressRoute also supports connections to other Microsoft cloud services, including Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, providing a seamless and integrated experience for your entire enterprise. A common use case for Azure ExpressRoute is in hybrid cloud deployments. For example, a company might have critical applications running on premises, but wants to leverage Azure for additional compute and storage capacity. By using ExpressRoute, the company can create a more secure and high-speed connection between its on-premises data center and Azure. This allows the company to run workloads in both environments and seamlessly move data between them. Additionally, ExpressRoute can be used for scenarios like periodic data migration, replication for business continuity and disaster recovery, helping to ensure that the company's data is always available and protected. Azure DNS is a service that allows you to provide domain name resolution for your DNS domains in Azure using Microsoft's global network of name servers. This ensures high reliability and performance since your DNS queries are answered by the closest available server, reducing latency and improving response times. In terms of security, Azure DNS offers robust protection against DNS attacks, ensuring that your domains are secure and that your data is protected. The service is also easy to use, with a simple interface that allows you to manage your DNS records effortlessly. You can create and manage DNS zones and records using the Azure portal, Azure PowerShell, or the Azure CLI, making it accessible for users with different preferences and skill levels. Azure DNS also supports customizable virtual networks, allowing you to create private DNS zones that are only accessible within your virtual network. This provides additional security and isolation for your internal resources. Additionally, Azure DNS supports alias records, which enable you to map your DNS names to Azure resources. This can make it easier to access your services by using your own DNS names to access the resource. A key feature of Azure DNS is its integration with other Azure services. For example, you can use Azure DNS to manage the DNS records for your Azure virtual network, enabling seamless name resolution for your virtual machines and other resources. This integration simplifies the management of your network infrastructure and ensures that your applications communicate effectively. And that brings us to the end of this session on virtual networking, covering VPNs, ExpressRoute, and DNS. That concludes part 1 of our Microsoft Azure Virtual Training Day on Azure Fundamentals. Let's quickly recap what we've covered so far. In our first session, we introduced the cloud and its benefits, as well as the different types of cloud implementations. Then we covered the different types of cloud services and finished with an overview of the shared responsibility model in Azure. In our second session, we covered some of the core architectural components of Microsoft Azure, including how it aligns with managing your services within Azure. We also reviewed some of the different ways the compute is implemented within Azure, such as Azure Virtual Machines and container services. We also spent some time on comparing some of the different compute options. And then finally, in our third session, we covered virtual networking, including VPNs, ExpressRoute, and Azure DNS. Thank you for joining us so far. We look forward to seeing you for part 2 of the Microsoft Azure Virtual Training Day Azure Fundamentals event. See you soon.